Yesterday, we watched a player become the greatest ever in the NFL. And we also watched a defense remind us that in this hyper-focused offensive league, the defenses still matter.
Cannot play with him. Cannot win with him. Cannot coach with him. Can't do it.
You play to win the game.
I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game. Not a game. Not a game. We talking about practice.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Touchdown!
You are now locked in to the Clock Dodgers podcast.
Clock Dodgers podcast.
Damn, what a Super Bowl that was. We are fresh off post-Super Bowl. This is the Clock Dodgers podcast. I am your host, Neal. And we just watched Tom Brady, if you didn't think it already, become the greatest player in NFL history. I know many want to argue that fact. I don't know how you can argue that fact. This man has 7 championship wins. This dude has crazy amount of playoff appearances, crazy amount of Super Bowl appearances, crazy win record in the playoffs and Super Bowl. Like, everything is just crazy. And as I've spoken about on this podcast before, the fact that this guy did it at the age of 43, going to a new team and in the first year making it happen. Of course, he didn't do it by himself. Of course, this team has a bunch of really good players, but you have to put this on the back of Brady, because if you put another quarterback on this team, I don't know if it ends this way. I don't think it does. Obviously depending on the quarterback, but if you think about their realistic options, this is crazy. This really was crazy. It was fascinating to watch. The fact that Patrick Mahomes is on the other side of the field as the Bucs, kept scoring, you couldn't help but say to yourself, like, I sat there and I was like, I've seen Patrick Mahomes do this before, though. I've seen him come back from things like this before. So it took really late in the game for me to actually give up hope for the Chiefs. That's crazy. It as dominant as the Bucs were, it took me to really late in the fourth quarter to go, okay, this thing's actually over. It's over. That's how good Patrick Mahomes is. Tom Brady already said he's coming back. He said he's going to run this bad boy back. You have to imagine, while people are going to, sit here and think about all the places that the free agents of the Bucs could go, knowing that it's Brady's last year potentially, knowing that this team has the ability certainly to run it back, you have to imagine. I believe a lot of these guys who we want to get excited about and go, oh, where's he going to go? Where's he going to go? I really think a lot of them are just going to come back. Even if it's crazy, it sounds crazy, but even if it's on 1-year deals. Wouldn't you? Honestly, you're a young player. You just won a Super Bowl. You're playing with the greatest player ever in history. Wouldn't you run it back for another year? The opportunity to win a second Super Bowl while you play this game. After that season, you can go get paid. I'm chasing the ring, though. I'm chasing history. I'm chasing legacy. The money's gonna come regardless, guys. That's not the focus here. I mean, for some guys, that's all they care about, and I'm sure those guys will bail. But for people who are focused on winning championships, who want to run this thing back, and the Bucs have as good of a chance as anybody else to do so, I think those guys are going to resign. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have anything to worry about. He has a long career ahead of him. He's got plenty of wins to make, plenty of championships to win, plenty of money to make. This isn't the end for Patrick Mahomes at all. This isn't one of those situations where a quarterback loses in Super Bowl. You're like, man, I don't know if he'll ever get back here. I'm 100% certain this dude is going to get back there. And again, I'm saying that as a Raiders fan. That ain't easy to say. And speaking of being a Raiders fan, rooting for Tom Brady is like, again, this was like the most anti-Raider fan Super Bowl you could have had. Being, Tom Brady, who, we have the illustrious snow game, the fumble, or the fumble that wasn't, depending on who you ask, the NFL, but everyone believes it was a fumble. And then you have the Chiefs, who are, the biggest rival in the division, basically. So this was as anti-Raider fan as you could get. However, I'm not going to root against the GOATs. It's just not going to happen. When I'm watching history, when I'm watching a guy who has torn it up since I was a young guy, a young kid, and Brady, since he's been playing for 20 years, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to root against that, like, in that moment. Like, I get he frustrates people, the ones that aren't the fan. And I've spoke about this before. I know some people are frustrated. I know some people hate seeing the same guys win it. I know people hate seeing the same teams win it, but I am not going to sit here and knock Tom Brady's career. This isn't like, let's look at it as like the Yankees, right? Like the Yankees annoyed a lot of people when it's like they were buying straight up championships. They were straight up taking an advantage that they could take and spending way more money than everybody else. That's different to me than what Tom Brady has done. You know what I mean? He may take pay cuts so that the team can spend more money in other places or whatever the case is, but this is not the same situation. It's not. You can say, oh, well, I hate when teams like in the NBA go and form a big three like LeBron, Wade, and Bosh and these guys. So it makes me so angry. I can't root for those guys. But again, that's not what's happening here. There's too many players on an NFL team to say that's what's happening here. This is different. You're watching a special career, and I can't sit back and like be mad at it and hold like a grudge against it. I just can't do it. So I'm happy for Brady, man. It was fun seeing Twitter go crazy, like sad, mad, angry. And you guys know I spoke about it. I said I do not want there to be a conspiracy in this game because I do not want the fans to have a reason to call this cannon gate because we were firing cannons in the middle of the game and they gave them home field advantage or whatnot. But of course, it wasn't the cannons. It was the refs. It was the refs that everybody was going to come back to. Listen, as a Raider fan, again, I can easily complain about refs. I've done it for a long time. And I always felt like there's a bias towards the Raiders. But that aside, just like in, mixed martial arts, just like in all these things, you cannot let the game come down to the judges, to the refs. If you think the refs are why the Chiefs lost this game, you didn't watch the game. It's not just a couple of plays that the refs stole that made the Chiefs lose. The Chiefs weren't good enough. They weren't the better team. The Bucs were the better team. And it goes way past Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. The Bucs defense was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Coming into this game, we knew the Bucs had the better defense, right? Like the Chiefs are pretty aggressive on defense sometimes, and it can come back and hurt them sometimes. In that same sense, but they're not anywhere near the Bucs caliber. So it was interesting and great to see, honestly, because we're in this league where offense is the focus. Offense is all we care about. Offense is the drive and the motivation factor because. If you could put up 30 points, then who could beat you? It's hard, So that's the focus. And it's hard for defenses at all to stop teams these days. Like there's so many good quarterbacks. There's so many talented wide receivers and running backs. There's so many smart coaches and game plans that are just ridiculously, well thought out and well planned. So it's almost hard to find a defense that's like quote unquote dominant in 2020, 2021. Like it's just hard to find. Because no matter how good they are, when you run into Patrick Mahomes, it's hard to stop him. When you run into Deshaun Watson, it's hard to stop him. When you run into Russell Wilson, it's hard to stop. It's just hard to stop amazing talent that's well game planned and has weapons all over the field. It's just hard to do, like all game long. You know what I mean? Like you're going to give up big plays once in a while. Or you're going to break once in a while. It's just going to happen. To see the Bucs be so dominant in the Super Bowl was something to watch because Patrick Mahomes, the young GOAT that we've been ranting and raving about, who again, this is not taken from Patrick Mahomes. This is giving him credit. They didn't let this man score a touchdown. He didn't score one touchdown. How? How is that possible? How? Of all the bets, of all the prop bets, of all the spreads, of everything that was coming into this game, if you would have told me, hey man, you can bet as much money as you want on the fact that Patrick Mahomes won't score a touchdown. You take the fact you take the side of Patrick Mahomes scoring a touchdown, and us guys over here will take the side of him not scoring a touchdown. I would have bet everything on it. How would I ever believe that Patrick Mahomes wouldn't score a touchdown in the Super Bowl? He could do it with his feet. He could do it with his arm. He could, he has talented playmakers all over the field. You really wanted me to believe that he wouldn't throw one touchdown? I would not be believable before this game. It wouldn't be. It just wouldn't be believable on the biggest show on earth. The biggest show on earth, with all the casuals watching, with the weekend performing, with everyone, all the celebrities, everybody. You're telling me that Patrick Mahomes wouldn't score a touchdown? I would not have believed it for a second if you would have told me that. Never. So shout out to the Bucs defense. That was incredible. That was incredible to watch. They just, man, what a great coaching job on both sides of the ball. Just everything, man. And there's so many stories that come out of this Super Bowl. That's what makes this really cool. Like the Tom Brady, being 40 plus years old in his first year, he goes to Tampa, wins the Super Bowl. You got Rob Gronkowski coming out of retirement to join him. You got Antonio Brown, getting this extra shot in the league again, playing with, Tom Brady and winning a Super Bowl. You got Leonard Fournette, getting traded from the Jags. And, it's just so many good stories, man. There's so many stories that you could take those stories. You could take the big story, or you could take all these little stories, that happened across this game. And again, now you get the story of Patrick Mahomes. Like, what happens, right? Like, how does he respond? How does this team respond to this loss? How much better does the rest of the league and other teams get? Do the Chiefs and Bucks meet again here? Is that the most likely scenario? Man, Tom Brady, 5th MVP. This guy's got more Super Bowl MVPs than people have Super Bowls ever, even played in, experienced. It's just insane. It really is insane. And then Patriot fans, how do they feel? How do Patriot fans feel right now? You know what I mean? Like, what's going through your mind as a Patriot fan right now? Are you like, we should have kept this guy? I can't believe we let him go. I can't believe we let him move on to a new team. We struggled crazy without him. How does Bill Belichick feel? I threw a poll up on Twitter on how do Patriots feel right now, and 45% said they were happy Brady won. The other 55% were mad that he won. So, again, polls are polls. Who knows, who was in there voting and sliding the scales. But that's where I'm at, like, this was an incredible game. It was fun to watch. It was fascinating to see the way everything played out. It wasn't how I predicted it. I believe in the prediction episode, I did say that I wouldn't bet on this game. I wouldn't put any money on this game because of the simple fact that, the players and teams that are involved. But I did say that while it's super hard to bet against Brady, it almost seems, impossible to bet against Brady. It makes no logical sense almost, that I still couldn't sit here and tell you that I didn't think Mahomes had the ability to win this game, So this was definitely a surprise. Again, no touchdowns for Mahomes and the Chiefs. None. I liked all the tenacity too. Brady, John, back and forth with the guys, with muscle, but it was great, man. It was great. The peace sign to Hill from Antoine Winfield, I believe it was Jr. Right? It was just great, man. It was great. This was a good way to end the season. It was, and let me say this, man. This was a weird season, right? The pandemic threw everything off. COVID threw everything off. People couldn't go to games like they wanted to. If for fantasy, players were in and out of games. It was getting weird. Schedules were being changed. But I think this was a good, closeout. It ended on a high note. It wasn't super negative. There was no negative energy surrounding it. It was just a good game, a good football game. And we got to see the best of offense and defense. Two GOATs going at it. It was great. Great head coaches, going at it. It was all around a really fun game. I got to watch it. My two sons stayed up with me. They never stayed awake for a Super Bowl. The two youngest ones, they were able to make it through the whole game. That was great. Great food, great experience. All around, it was great. Now, next year, we'll see if it's the same, right? Next year, we'll see if we're dealing with all this stuff still, this pandemic and everything. We'll see if the madness, carries on. Hopefully not. Hopefully we get this under control and we don't have to worry about this kind of stuff. And it's a different, year for football, but we'll see. We managed it, right? We got through it, and that's respectable. And the numbers for the NFL, I believe, were pretty amazing actually, for positive tests and all that kind of stuff. They did really well. I believe. I could be wrong. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert, but that's what I think. Overall, guys, this was a fantastic season. I appreciate you guys for hanging in with me on this one, man. The Super Bowl felt like we were waiting for it forever. Back to more content, guys. We're doing these. You know what I'm saying? 5 days a week, every day. We got different stuff for you guys, different schedule, different interviews, different content. It's all coming. So just stay on board. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. I appreciate you for that. Follow @ClockDodgers on Twitter or Instagram. You can email me, contact@ClockDodgers.com. however you feel like reaching out. Appreciate all the love. And thank you to everybody who's been retweeting the show and sharing it. And when people ask, hey, what are some good podcasts? What are some stuff you recommend? And you tag us. Really appreciate it. Thank you for that. Can't thank you guys enough for always showing the love and everything. So, hey, listen, Super Bowl's over, but the podcast ain't. It ain't over yet. It ain't ever going to be over. We're back tomorrow again. We're on your ass. Ain't going nowhere. It's fun, man. This is great. Switching to this 5 days a week has been awesome. I love connecting with you guys daily. It helps us cover so much ground. All right, guys. Other than that, hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on Instagram. I want to continue the conversation about the Super Bowl, what you guys thought about it. I've already been going back and forth with people, going at it, enjoying the maybe a little trolling, maybe, right? But, overall, good conversations, guys. Other than that, as always, be kind, be great, keep dodging.